Welcome to Valentine's Park in Ilford, where tonight we're bringing you a special programme 3 years on from the murder of Zara Aleena. 35-year-old Zara was walking home from a night out with friends when just one road down from here, she was stabbed to death.
The amount of women that are followed, that are stalked, that are sexually harassed on the street still, that are murdered in their homes, the figures have not changed.
Although what happened to Zara is extreme, it's not isolated. Violence against women and girls happens on our streets and in our homes every single day. Tonight, in our exclusive survey, shocking numbers of women tell us of being followed, abused and assaulted. We're in Soho with authorities witnessing the harassment firsthand. Plus,
that isn't going to happen overnight, but I'll be damned if it doesn't happen.
will the government's promises ever work? And
I basically created this just as a safe space for women where we can run confidently and feel empowered.
from fear to friendships, the women running together for protection. One road down from here, just down there, Zara Aleena's journey home ended in a brutal attack that shocked the capital and shattered her family. She loved nature, her family said, which is why there's a memorial tree over there to my left and a bench in her name right over there on my right. On that summer night 3 years ago, her killer had spent hours following multiple women as he waited for a moment to attack. He'd just been released from prison. Tonight, her family tell us they want systemic change, as an exclusive survey for this programme reveals the majority of women don't feel safe on London streets. Our senior correspondent, Ronke Phillips, has been speaking to Zara's aunt, who talks in distressing detail about that night, and to others who have also felt the devastating and long-lasting impact of such violence.
You know, I identified Zara's body. I watched the CCTV of her being raped and murdered. And even if you don't see it, when you hear it, it's physically revolting.
The murder of Zara Aleena is the worst possible example of violence against a woman imaginable. The 35-year-old was walking home after a night out in Ilford when she was violently attacked and murdered exactly 3 years ago.
There is something that happens to people who've been traumatised when dates hit you. It's not more difficult. It's just you are propelled back in time.
A year before Zara's death, there were vigils and protests following the murder of Sarah Everard. It led to a national conversation about women's safety, but the question about whether anything has really changed remains.
The amount of women that are followed, that are stalked, that are sexually harassed on the street still, that are murdered in their homes, the figures have not changed. And that don't feel safe in the street, the figures have not changed.
In a poll conducted by this programme, we spoke to 1,500 women, and 48% said they'd been followed, 50% have been verbally abused, and a quarter physically or sexually assaulted.
I just don't think the world is a safe place, especially for women at the moment.
Katie Boyle is an international DJ who often has to travel late at night. One of her worst experiences didn't happen when she was on her own, but when she was on stage in front of a crowd.
They grabbed me, they put their hand down my top and down my trousers, and they had to be pried off me by a stage manager and another DJ that was playing, and it is a really, really scary time to be a woman.
There have been commitments around increasing the resources of police and other agencies towards tackling violence against women and girls. But the impact of the strategies do not seem to be feeding through to women's experiences. When asked if London has become more or less safe over the last 5 years, nearly half of all the women surveyed said it had become less safe.
Next thing I knew, I was being threatened with being stabbed.
Genevieve, an actor, had her phone stolen in a coffee shop.
I just don't feel safe in London. I don't enjoy being here. I can't go out for a drink. I can't let my guard down to have a drink with my friends. I can't walk around freely. I feel like I'm constantly on edge.
Every year, the anniversary of Zara's murder is marked with a silent walk. This weekend, the vigil will be repeated with an open invitation to support the campaign against violence against women.
I really hope to see more men at our vigil on Sunday. You know, my dream is that some man will decide to march and march with men behind him and say, not in our name.
Well, Zara's aunt, Farah, has kindly agreed to join us here live as well. Thank you so much. I've been looking at the tree and the bench, which are just really beautiful, I don't know, things to stand beside and sit on to remember Zara. How does it make you feel being in the park today?
I'm a little uncomfortable. You know, we're a minute's walk away from where Zara was murdered, and as you can see, it's a busy area, it's a residential area, there are families around us, and so, you know, one would think that one is safe, and so it arouses all sorts of feelings in me coming here. I don't like to be here too often,
But it's here that the walk will start over the weekend, isn't it?
Yes.
And, you know, we did our survey and it said that 50% of women feel less safe now than 5 years ago. And you do so much incredible campaigning. You know, what do you think it will take to just have that shift change where we see real tangible change for women and girls?
I think, you know, the change is going to be slow because the emphasis on systemic change has to be on early intervention rather than focusing on the end. So we know that in our case, probation services, the errors within probation services allowed this man to slip through a net.
And we've seen changes from that perspective.
We've seen changes there, but we need changes across the board.
Well, I mean, what we do hope is that does happen, and we are going to be speaking to a couple of guests a little bit later who'll be talking about how to do those sort of grassroots change. But Farah, thank you so much for joining us this evening. Thank you.
Thank you so much for having me.
Well, this summer, the Met Police is expanding its violence against women and girls action plan. There's increased security at more than 50 large concerts, including at Dua Lipa at Wembley last week. We had exclusive access. Here's Carolyn Sim.
As scores of Dua Lipa fans arrive at Wembley, among them is a new patrol.
If something is wrong, just come to us.
Specialist police officers here to spot predatory men and to stop attacks before they happen. It's part of a broader strategy in the Met for tackling violence against women and girls.
We know we've got more to do to win the trust and confidence of all other people of London, particularly women and girls, in relation to public safety. We know we've got more work to do. This is about being on that journey, being better at investigating crimes, being better at engaging with the public.
But for many women, the journey home is when things get dangerous.
A predator is not just going to drag you when everybody is around. They're going to wait until you're isolated.
Tavana Benjamin felt safe watching Usher at the O2 in April, but on her way home she was followed and chased by a man outside Highbury and Islington tube station. She reported it to the police.
But they've not done anything. So we just have to wait for someone, God forbid, but another woman to go through what I've been through, and she might not make it.
Of the women we spoke to who'd experienced physical or verbal abuse, 68% said they didn't report it to the police at all.
What women do tell us is that when they report something, they just feel like nothing's being done.
So part of the challenge of violence against women and girls is the volume. You know, we are receiving thousands and thousands of reports every year. I can't tell you right now that every single crime will get a, full investigation because, it's all about prioritising our resources and having the best investigation we can.
But it is logged at least.
Absolutely. It's about treating every single victim with that respect and dignity.
As the concert draws to a close, outside a flurry of fans make their way home and tell us they want more police on the streets.
Do you like seeing more police officers on the streets?
Yes. Absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah. Why?
It makes us feel safer. On the tube or like in central London, there is not lots of policemen, and it's not safe enough, I would say.
After the concert, 6 arrests were made. Sad proof, perhaps, that this strategy could be working. Carolyn Sim, ITV News, Wembley.
Mayor Sir Sadiq Khan's on a mission to make London a 24-hour city for all. But how safe is London for women after dark? With a rape reported every hour in the capital and reports of sexual offences on the tube up by more than 10% in the last 3 years, councils are taking it upon themselves to increase security in our streets. From Soho, here's Helen Keenan.
We've been in Soho 3 hours. Already, a young girl has been sexually assaulted.
She's just dealing with an incident right now while the police take her statement.
A team dedicated to women's safety is supporting her.
What's happening? We asked if he touched her. She was like, yes, he touched me, like on my breasts, on my bottom. He kept touching me.
This is a Friday night in Soho. We are on patrol with the Night Stars.
Has there been encounters that you've seen?
Yeah, definitely. There's been like men who are actively harassing groups of women on the street, yelling at them, yelling obscenities of them, just trying to rile them up or getting a bit too close to them. And then
obviously that's quite common.
Unfortunately.
There you go, put one foot in.
And women are telling me how unsafe they feel.
It's terrifying being out on your own as a woman in the night, but if I'm on the train, I'll either pretend I'm on the phone or actually be on the phone.
There's an attacker alarm, and if you're ever worried about your drink, there's a little test strip that tests whether or not it's like, that's so smart. No worries,
You need more people like you.
Further into the night, these women tell me they've all been spiked before.
So in my head all the time is always, oh my God, if there's going to be a group of guys, like, how fast can I run? Am I wearing the right shoes? I never wear heels because I'm scared I can't run.
We try and speak to another group. Already they're being hassled.
Exhibit A.
Finally, they leave.
Do you get that a lot?
Yeah, it's a pretty universal female experience. I got my skirt lifted up once by someone in a club. Just came up and did it.
How did you feel?
Felt quite violated, quite embarrassed.
It just feels like this is such a busy area in Soho. You could walk down the road here and every woman would have a story to tell about being hassled by a man.
And just as we were trying to finish filming, the harassment continued from another man.
Oh, do you mind leaving me alone?
Yeah, no, that's good.
We asked women if they thought the mayor was doing enough to keep women and girls safe in London. 26% said they thought he was. 16% didn't know, but the majority told us he needs to do more.
We're doing our bit from City Hall, but we can't do it ourselves. That's why we're working really closely with the police, with the courts, but also investing record sums in tackling violence against women and girls. We're investing from City Hall, more than £230 million.
The man suspected of sexual assault was arrested and she is reunited with her friends. Despite the mayor's extra investment, they don't feel any safer. Helen Keenan, ITV News.
Well, Jess Phillips has campaigned on this issue for years, so her becoming the Minister for Safeguarding and Violence Against Women was an obvious choice. For the last decade, she stood up in Parliament and read the names of all women killed at the hands of men in the last 12 months. This year, there were 95. She's been speaking to Lucrezia Millerini.
Less than a third of women feel safe in London right now. Are you surprised by that?
I'm saddened, but I'm not really surprised. Every woman I know has been harassed at some point in their life.
We've all got stories, we've all got things that have stayed with us.
Like almost every woman I know, I ended up in difficult and dangerous situations. I remember having to break the door of a toilet down because my friend had been spiked and I could see her legs underneath it in a nightclub. People would pull up in a car next to you, certainly when you were in a school uniform, sort of ask you to get in the car. The kind of thing now that when I repeat it back, it seems absolutely harrowing.
The horrific kidnap, rape and murder of Zara Aleena in 2021, it prompted a national conversation where so many women came forward and they spoke about their lived experiences. We look at our survey now, a quarter of the women say that they feel less safe now than they did 5 years ago. Why do we reset?
I think that the Zara Aleena moment was a change, actually. For somebody like me who has fought on this subject for decades, I felt a change. There has to be fundamental systematic change in how our policing works, in how our court system works, in how our health service works, in how our social services work, and frankly how our public realm operates.
Although the boss of the Met, Mark Rowley, has issued a very clear warning saying unless the Met gets more funding, specifically the area of violence against women and girls, there will be a sustained increase. The women that we spoke to say they want to see more coppers on the streets. That would make them feel more safe.
Well, I mean, obviously the Labour Party is committed to there being more coppers on the street, and in fact the Met have been given extra police officers for neighbourhood policing, and that is Mark Rowley's job, and he is doing it well. Whilst I agree that more resource is needed, I will tire of institutions saying the only reason we can't do this is because we don't have the funding.
Almost half of women say they've been followed at least once in their life. That's almost half women saying that now.
I have to say that is quite shocking. So in Zara's case, the problems were that 2 people had already been followed by her killer and not felt confident to report it. So then I have to look at policing and the standards in policing, and that's why we are investing in a completely new violence against women and girls policing centre. And then I think about how we manage in other areas, whether that's probation.
Jordan McSweeney should have been back in jail.
100%
there weren't enough probation
McSweeney.
officers.
That is why we have to invest in more probation officers, but not just invest in more probation officers. Make the lens that they look through specialist. It's not just for International Women's Day. That isn't going to happen overnight. But I'll be damned if it doesn't happen.
All right. Jess Phillips, thank you so much for talking to me. Thank you.
Well, the Netflix show Adolescence sparked conversations about young people, toxic masculinity and social media. It was clear it struck a chord. When we asked women in the capital what they thought would make them feel safer, more than a quarter told us better education for boys is fundamental. Cafe Pata investigates.
Yeah, quite good. And down.
It's my second year of raising a son. And between the nursery rhymes and baby toys, I'm constantly asking, how do you raise a respectful boy in a digital world that disrespects women?
But we don't put standards on women, no matter how rude, crass, obnoxious they are, how fat they are.
It's the patriarchy that saved women. It's the patriarchy that brings order.
Everywhere you look online, on social media, misogyny is easily accessible.
To learn how this is being combated, it was time to go back to school.
Someone giving consent has to have the capacity. What is that about?
This charity-run workshop has spent decades visiting students across the country, teaching boys and girls how to spot a toxic relationship.
We're at a point now where we're hearing some very negative attitudes from boys and young men. It's very clear that they're coming from the internet, from online influencers and from social media.
What kind of stuff are they saying?
So they're saying things like women should know their place, feminism has gone too far.
Earlier this afternoon, the students were learning about controlling relationships.
I feel like restricting your partner as like, oh, you can't go outside unless you're with me, stuff like that. It's like you're stopping the partner from doing what they want to do and giving them no freedom.
If you're not able to give your opinion or choose something for yourself, then they're controlling you and they're being abusive.
A woman's ex or partner kills them twice in a week. That happens 2 times in every week. That's like a bit shocking because like that's like 8 deaths in a month.
Thank you.
Statistically, 2 out of these 6 girls could end up in abusive relationships.
How does that feel?
Well, in the future, try and have a relationship. I'm scared.
Our gender is like less likely to be safe.
If you have a basket of 6 apples and one of them were bad, but you didn't know which one, would you still eat the apples? No, because you don't want to like put yourself at that risk. It's not all men, but it's enough men for the situation to be a really big issue.
This is the reality for women and girls, and the minister in charge of protecting them wants those feeding the violence to do better.
The tech companies have to recognise that they are currently making billions out of harm.
Minister Jess Phillips ending CAF's report there. Well, I'm joined now by Andrea Simon, who's the chair of End Violence Against Women Coalition, and Sharon Gafka, who's a campaigner and has worked with the government to make spiking a specific criminal offence. Andrea, I'm going to start with you. When you first started in your role, just a couple of months before Sarah Everard was murdered, you said there wasn't that much attention paid to violence towards women and girls. Do you think all these years later that that's now changed?
I think, yes, we're definitely having more of a national conversation about women's safety and protections. And I think that this conversation has shifted away from all of the expectations we put on women to do safety work and to change the way that they live their lives and what they want to do, specifically to keep themselves safe from male violence. And we have to have a focus on the perpetrators. We have to have a focus on the men and boys who are committing these types of offences or behaviours.
Now, Sharon, this is something that you've spoken about in relation to your spiking. Someone had spiked your drink on a night out, and you said one of the first feelings that you had was you'd let yourself down by not protecting your drinks enough, which is exactly what Andrea's saying. It always tends to be the woman's responsibility to make sure she's kept safe.
I think that might be down to parenting, not to say that my parents did anything wrong, but that's what society taught them, that we speak to our daughters in a certain way where, you know, don't go out late at night on your own, don't wear headphones, cover your drink, don't take a drink from a stranger. But I don't ever recall a time where my brother was sat down by my parents and said, don't spike somebody's drink, even though you'd like to think it's common sense. But the amount of people that have reached out to me on social media or via email, like in their thousands, say something completely different.
And Andrea, this is the problem, isn't it? Is that a lot of people, because it's always been done in that way through generations, some of them don't even realise they're doing it.
It's become known as invisible safety work that we all do. All of the calculations we make about where we're going and how we're going to get there and how we're going to get home, it's just extra labour that women are constantly doing, and it has to shift away from that, and it has to shift away from only responding after the harm has been done and move back onto prevention and trying to stop things from happening and intervene at the earliest possible points that we can.
So in terms of the work that you do, Sharon, is your focus then very similar to Andrew in terms of prevention? So starting quite young and working with young people and letting them, you know, see the disparities when it comes to violence?
So I've actually been very fortunate to work with End Violence Against Women and Girls on the online safety bill, because I do think that the online space that young men and boys have access to now does contribute to the ideology they're developing. But I am big on prevention. I've always said prevention is the answer to ending gender-based violence. I actually did a little bit of work with Thames Valley Police as a result of my incident being spiked. I was spiked in London, but I live outside of London now.
And what you've done is really highlight so many different types of spiking, which I think is hugely important, but not just from women being knowledgeable of it, it's that everybody is. But to Sharon and Andrea, thank you both for talking to us this evening. There's a lot of stuff I think people will be able to take away. Now, if you've been affected by any of the issues on the programme, there are headlines on our website, and there are women all over the capital making positive changes within their communities. So we leave you tonight with evidence of that, and also a link on the screen as to where you can get help and advice. Lily White started a running club 9 months ago so that women could exercise safely together after dark. She says it's not just about running. What she says is it's about building a support system, creating safe spaces and proving that women belong anywhere at any time.
As a woman running in London, it does feel really unsafe. So I built the nightclub to spread awareness about women's safety, particularly in the dark, and I basically created this just as a safe space for women where we can run confidently and feel empowered. I think that the issue is getting progressively worse. Women are harassed, they're assaulted, women are spat on now and heckled, and London just can be a really dangerous place to run.
Run club like this just gives girls the opportunity to be surrounded by other women.
I feel like every run you can't fully relax, and you're always focusing on everything but the running really, because you're worried. So I think running with other girls is just you just feel safe. Getting honked at, catcalled or whatever, just it's not the most pleasant, but being part of a run group just makes it so much better.
Everybody has pink armbands, mainly for visibility and makes you part of a community, but mainly it's for safety as well. You know, people can see us when it gets dark, we run in the evenings, and they also look good, so. I started running and quickly realised that as we got closer and closer to winter, there were just less opportunities to run safely. It's going so well. I mean, I started it last October, and there are 12 of us, and it's grown into this, and it's just getting bigger and bigger, and the girls love it.
Yeah, it's so nice to have somewhere to exercise, because it should be such a normal thing, but it's just not.
It's really nice to just be safe all together. Build a community, right? So that you're safe, but you also meet new people, spread awareness, and I think that's the point of the Run Club.
It's all about spreading awareness about women's safety, but equally, like, it's such a great, wholesome place, and we're doing something positive about it, which is the best part.